Today's video starts on page 41 of your 2B packet. Problem of the day. So simplifying, get an answer. Adding and subtracting integers. Remember to change all the subtracting to add up, adding the opposite of the following number. So for instance, here you're going to change -3 minus 10 to adding -10. Right? Because that's a subtraction. And -10 minus 12 to adding -12 and adding the opposite, +8. So I started example 1 and 2, changing it to adding the opposite. Don't change the adding problems, only the subtraction. Only change the subtraction to adding the opposite. So finish that page and then go on in the video. Lesson 6, the distance between two rational numbers. Use the number line to answer each of the following. What is the distance between -4 and 5? So -4 and 5. Well, I know that they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 apart. So the distance, the difference between them is 9. Between -5 and -3. Well, 1, 2. The distance between 7 and -1. Well, I know I've got to go 7 to get back to 0, and then one more would give me 8. Their distance is 8. Notice that I'm not saying positive or negative because distance isn't positive or negative. 5 and -4. 5 and -4, so going 5 to get to 0 and then 4 more, I'm going to have a distance of 9. So the distance between -4 and 5 is 9, switching the order. The distance between 5 and -4 is also 9. And again, switching the order here, -5 and -3, now it's -3 and -5, it's still going to be a distance of 2. And the distance between -1 and 7, well, I've got 1 to get to 0 and then 7 to get over here, so my distance is 8. Use the number line to answer each of the following. What is the distance between 0 and -8? Well, they are... The absolute value of -8 is 8. They are 8 units apart. What is the distance between -2 and -1 1/2? Well, that's only half of a unit, right? Half of a unit apart, so 1/2. What is the distance between -6 and -10? Well, they are 4 apart. Find the distance between -3 and 2. The steps are start on -3. We've been doing this. And count the number of units all the way up from -3 to 2. Well, I know it's 3 to get there and 2 more, so the distance is 5. The formula for two rational numbers P and Q, the distance between P and Q, is the absolute value. Distance does not get a sign on it. It's the absolute value of the first number minus the second number. So using the formula, -3 minus 2, take the absolute value of that. Well, -3 minus 2, or I could switch it. Remember, we saw that the order didn't really matter. 2 minus -3. And when I do the absolute value here I get -5. -3 minus 2 more is -5. Which absolute value is 5, and 2 minus -3 becomes 2 plus +3, which is also 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. So we know the distance between those two numbers is 5 units. Distance is not positive or negative, it's just neutral. Change in elevation or temperature may be positive or negative depending on whether it is increasing or decreasing, going up or down. A hiker starts at the beginning of a trail at a point which is 200 feet below sea level. He hikes hikes to a location on the trail that is 580 feet above sea level and stops for lunch. What is the vertical distance between 200 feet below sea level and 580 feet above sea level? Well, 200 feet below sea level is that negative 200. And the distance between them would be, if you were to subtract them, their difference, but find that absolute value. Well, negative 200 minus 580, add up, I get negative 780. That's in absolute value, which would be 780 feet. So you can think about it, if you were to draw this, say this is sea level, and here's your negative 200 and your positive 580. So I would have to go 200 just to get back to 0, and then another 580. So that makes sense that the answer is 780 feet. How should we interpret 780 feet in the context of this problem? Well, that's the distance the hikers traveled. In the context of this problem, it's about hiking, so we have to say the hikers traveling, or what they hiked. It's the distance that the hikers traveled. After lunch, the hiker hiked back down the trail from the point of elevation, which is 580 feet above sea level, to the point, the beginning of the trail, which is 200 feet below sea level. So here's our 580, a nice vertical number line that we can look at, and that's negative 200 feet. This is positive 580 feet. So now we're up here, they had lunch, and they're hiking back down, and then going back down to their point, which is at below sea level. So 580 minus our negative 200, and put that in the absolute value symbol. So we know that we're going to change this to add the opposite. So we're going to add those numbers together, and we get 780's absolute value, which is, yes, the same distance is covered going down the trail. What is the change in elevation? The change in elevation is that 780 feet. So the hike from the bottom to up to 580 is the same distance as from 580 down to the negative 200. That makes sense. The distance between a negative number and a positive number is 12. What are the numbers? Well, it could be negative 11 and 1, for instance. They're 12 apart. Negative 10 and 2. Or it could be negative 9 and 3, right? They're going to be 12 apart, 9 to 0, and then 3 more. And you can keep following this pattern. Negative 8 and 4, dot, 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 all the way to negative 1 and 11. Use the distance formula to find each answer. Support your answer using a number line diagram. Find the distance between negative 7 and negative 4. Well, the distance between negative 7 and negative 4, so let's call this negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. Find the distance. Use the distance formula, which is take the first p, the first number, minus the second number. That's the distance formula. Okay, well, I would add the opposite because it's subtraction. So different sign, subtract, because now it's adding. And I get 7 take away 4 is 3. And yes, it would be negative 3. Take the sign of the larger number, but then we're taking the absolute value, which would be 3 units. And I can see that here. Negative 7 and negative 4 are 1, 2, 3 apart. Find the change in temperature if the temperature rises from negative 18 to 15. So I'm going to draw a vertical number line. Here's negative 18. here's 0, and here's positive 15. So I know I've got to go 18 just to get up to 0, and then another 15. So here I can see their distance is 33. Well, if I'm using the formula says take the first number, negative 18, minus the second number, which is positive 15, and take their absolute value. Well, I'd have to change this to keep negative 18, add the opposite. So now I have negative 18 and negative 15, which gives me same signs, add, negative 18 and 15. Keep that negative 33. However, it's in absolute value, so that distance, is 33 degrees Fahrenheit. So 33 degrees. Find the change in temperature. It's 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Would your answer for part B, which I don't have here, oh, let's say D for part D. Let's change this to part D. Oh, yeah, it is supposed to be. If the temperature dropped from 15 down to negative 18, would it be different? Okay, well, and it meant to be D there. 15 minus a negative 18. Would it be different? So take the first number, subtract the second number. 15 subtract negative 18. Add up. Oh, same signs, add and keep. They're both positive now. I get 33. And yes, the absolute value of positive 33 is going to be exactly the same. 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Would your answer for part D be different if the temperature dropped? No. If you change the order of that, is it different? The answer is no. Beryl is the first person to finish a 5K race and is standing 15 feet beyond the finish line. Another runner, Jeremy, is currently trying to finish the race and has approximately 14 feet before he reaches the finish line. What is the minimum possible distance between Beryl and Jeremy? Well, if we drew a picture for this, so let's say this is the wiggly line is the finish line. Here's Beryl. He's 15 feet beyond that. So here's Beryl. And Jeremy is not there, so he's below 14 feet below that, or in front of, or not there yet. So he's at negative 14. This is Jeremy. What is the minimum distance between them? So the first number is 15, subtract the second number, take their, negative 14, take their absolute value. So add up, because it's subtraction, add up. So now I have 15 plus a positive 14, which is 29. Same signs, add and keep. And so that distance between them is 29 feet. What is the change in elevation from 140 feet above sea level to 40 feet below sea level? Okay, so here's sea level, 140 feet above sea level, and 40 feet below sea level. What's the change in elevation? Well, if you were doing this on the number line, you've got to go 40 just to get to 0, and then another 140. So I know that this, on the number line, their distance between them is 180. Now I'm going to use the formula to prove that. 140 minus that negative 40, take its absolute value. So 140, add up, keep the 140, change it to add the opposite, same signs, add and keep. So we get 180, and yes, the absolute value of 180 is 180 feet. So 140 feet from air to water, or from above down to the water, and then 40 more feet to go under. So above sea level and below sea level. So 180 feet. So to find the distance between two rational numbers on a number line, you can count the number of units between the numbers, so we can use a number line. We can use the formula. The distance between the rational numbers is the first number minus the second number and take its absolute value. Distance is always, well, it's always not signed. I like rather to say that. It doesn't have a sign on it. It just is. It's neutral. I like to say not signed because then you think it's positive. No, distance doesn't have a sign on it. Change may be positive or negative. For instance, if there is a negative 4-degree change when the temperature goes from 7 to 3, right? It dropped 4 degrees. So it could be positive or negative. But distance cannot be positive or negative. And that's it for today's video.